Thanks, everybody, for joining us this afternoon. We're going to talk about suspicious order monitoring, specifically automating that for you with, by using your integrated ERP system with Navigate SOMS product. So we're going to talk about that today. For those of you that don't know who we are, again, I'm Gina Perry from VAI. I'm a sales rep here. I specialize in our pharmaceutical industry. My background is in distribution as a whole, and international distribution as well. And VAI, we're an award-winning software developer. You can check us out at vai.net. Our headquarters is on Long Island. We have offices all over the country, though. We do have over 200 employees. We continue to grow year over year, which is fantastic. As I mentioned, we kind of specialize in the pharmaceutical industry. We have niche markets in both food and pharma, but we do cater to the distribution and manufacturing industries as a whole. So we have a ton of experience in those as well. Our customer base really comprise, I think, over 1,600 companies now. We are privately held and operated. One of the, it's kind of unique in the ERP world for that. And we've been around for 44 years. So as I mentioned, we have our headquarters in Long Island here. We have offices in Chicago, Orlando, Miami, Sacramento. I'm down here somewhere in the 100-degree weather down Southwest Florida, and there are other reps like myself around the country as well. So we're here all over to support our customers, and our customers are where I could find over 25 countries, and they have locations in over 60 countries. So S2K is really a worldwide product, which is fantastic. So, a little bit about our product. Again, it's an ERP, it's an end to end holistic ERP solution. So, what I mean by that is that we are a single data repository that spans all of the core ERP applications like accounting and inventory management and order processing through CRM, through integrated e-com, mobile tools, and BI reporting, right? So we pull all of the aspects of the business together and feed with a single truth, right? A single database solution through all of those applications. And we're going to talk specifically today about how we integrate with Pharma Solutions Navigate SOM product specifically for managing your suspicious orders. Right. So when we talk about the pharmaceutical specific features of our product S2K, these are the things that are built in. You see here on your left. License management, very important, right? Every order that comes in and goes out needs to be checked and validated before it happens. So we do that for you automatically. Vendor chargebacks, compliance, event dashboard, where we pull all of your compliance stuff together for management, your compliance managers to use. We generate your DSCSA tracking statements. We have built-in GPO and contract management, pricing, and then, of course, our warehouse controls for your scheduled products, quarantine products, and whatnot. And I skipped over suspicious order monitoring because we do have some basic general rules built in, but most people are going to want to use an advanced solution like Pharma Solutions Navigate SOM. Okay, so we integrate with them. They're the experts in that, and we want to show you how utilizing their tool with ours can really just up your game big time. Okay, so for most of you on this call are going to know what SOMS is and the purpose, but just to highlight for those that don't, the intent of the suspicious order monitoring from the government is to prevent the product, the movement of drugs from entering the market from illegitimate sources, right? Or going from legitimate sources to illicit markets. So we want to keep all the drugs in the market safe and secure and track them from start to finish. And that is kind of DSCSA in a nutshell. And of course, managing the SOMS aspect of it. So as a rule, distributors have to have a system that will identify suspicious orders of controlled substances and report them, right? Whether that's an electronic system or a manual system, you are required to have one, and it is your job to identify and your responsibility to report as well. And to understand what a suspicious order is, that's anything of an unusual size, a unusual pattern, or unusual frequency, right? So, okay, great. Your requirements are that you must know your customer and all of their ordering habits and be able to quickly identify anything that falls outside of that. And that's fine if you have like one or two customers. But when you start getting into anything more than that, which hopefully you all are, then it becomes a lot harder to manage. So that's why we want to automate it, right? We need to take that um, the onus off of an individual user and kind of put it onto a system that's designed specifically for that. So what happens if you don't comply, right? You miss one. Bob, who's in charge of maintaining those manually, is off sick today. Here's some examples of non-compliance orders that are have been passed down in the past. Anywhere from $13 million to $150 million in fees by not managing your suspicious orders. Right. So we don't want to see that happen to any of our customers specifically, any industry or any distributors in the industry at all. But we've developed these tools and this relationship with Pharma Solutions to help our customers avoid that completely. Okay. So what does manual SOM compliance look like? As I mentioned, unless you have one or two customers, it's next to impossible. We're leaving this up to your human judgment, right? The timeliness of catching that, managing it, releasing it, handling it, stopping it, whatever, right? Tribal knowledge, whoever, who's been there the longest and knows what's going on, and that information's in their head. Where are the records residing for those averages or that knowledge, right? It's in Bob, the compliance manager's head? And is he working remotely at home? Does he have records with him at home? Are they, not in the office because the office is closed for a pandemic, as we recently experienced? And then consistency, right? If Bob's on vacation and Gina steps in, am I going to do the job the exact same way to keep with consistency and continuity? Most likely not, right? So manual SOM compliance is just not a good idea, even regardless of the size of the distribution. Okay, so again, automated, simplified. A robust ERP like VAI's S2K integrated with SOM tools like Pharma Solutions Navigate SOM. This will give you immediate and automated flagging, right? It's going to be consistent, timely, stable. Digital record keeping. There's no printed out papers with handwritten notes. There's not emails. It's all digital with a single source of truth. Okay. System of record, as I mentioned, single source of truth with a clear audit trail so we can kind of see all of the aspects of the order, which you can only really do systematically. You can't do that manually. All of your regulatory parameters, right? The responsibility is on the solutions to maintain that and keep it up to date for you, as well as your compliance managers. So you get that consistency and reliability that only a system can offer you. So just so you can see what this looks like the idea is to keep the flow of business moving. No one has to deviate from their regular job in order to just complete a simple task of entering an order and making sure it's compliant. So in S2K, when you put an order in, if you get past all the licensing and credit holds and all that good stuff, and I can start entering line item details. As I enter it, immediately in the background, S2K is talking with Pharma Solutions, and it's going to let me know if an item is flagged, right? So it will, in the background, run checks for us and let your users know. You'll see that all of the events, just like every other compliance type event, which you see here across the top of the page, will go to our compliance event dashboard. Okay, so those with the right security access are allowed to come in and say, show me all my suspicious orders. These are probably on hold, waiting to be checked by Navigate SOM, or they already have been checked by Navigate SOM, and you need to go in and make your executive decision from this point based on the results. But they have been flagged, and they are here waiting for you to do something about it. So That being said, once you have seen that message on the S2K side, then the user will go to their Navigate SOM the portal, which you're going to talk. I'm going to pass this over to the experts at Pharma Solutions here in a minute, and they'll tell you more about this and how it works. But again, process-wise, regular order entry, it's flagged for compliance. Compliance manager sees it, goes to their Navigate SOM portal and reviews the details. Why was it flagged, right? In this case, it was over this customer's average. So that's why we flagged it. And then the user then does, their value add to the job here and makes the decision on how to handle it. And then just showing you that the audit trail, back in S2K, you're going to have your information on Navigate SOM, but back in S2K too, I can see that an order was entered, then it was placed on hold and sent over to Navigate SOMS, right? It was flagged as non-compliant. And then the user did what they needed to do in Navigate SOM, came back over here, edited the order in order to release it. So we maintain this digital audit trail so that anytime in future audits or even just FYI, you want to see what's going on, you have that information. Okay, so that's it from my side. Thank you so much. I'm going to introduce you to Sumit from Pharma Solutions now.
Great, thank you, Gina, and thank you, Kristen. All right, I'm now sharing my screen. I think everybody can see it. So great. Yeah, first and foremost, thanks so much to the VAI team for having us on and for partnering with us on delivering just a better solution to industry together. So my name is Sumit Singh. I'm the CEO of Pharma Solutions, and here to talk to you today about suspicious order monitoring. Just double clicking into a lot of the things that Gina already covered. So just a quick company overview. We've been in business for over 6 years. We have over 40 team members, and we've been engaged by over 500 clients. Here's a quick look at our executive team and a couple of the things that we offer. We offer a mix of technology and professional services to primarily the life science supply chain. All right, so jumping right into it. So this is the agenda that we have today. It's a little bit abbreviated, just given the time constraints. But we'll first go over the regulatory framework, just overarching what SOM is and algorithm development, and then we'll double click into Navigate SOM, show you some new slides of our Navigate, exhibiting our Navigate 2.0 platform with updated workflows and additional capabilities and all that fun stuff. So the regulatory framework, I think everybody is mostly familiar with the Federal Controlled Substance Act. Specifically, what we target is compliance with Section 1301.74B. That's due to be a little bit updated with the Support Act, but we'll get to that in a second. And very simply, what the idea of the Federal Controlled Substance Act is that you do prevent, like Gina mentioned, bad actors from accessing controlled substances. And so this is kind of the overarching taxonomy of what DEA regulation looks like based on how we understand it. So there's a CSA at the top, plus case precedents. There's three major aspects, which is physical security, record keeping, and know your customer. Know your customer, if you double click into that, there's initial and ongoing. And suspicious order monitoring is really a part of the ongoing know your customer activities to comply with the CSA, right? And so the idea is, this is just one, SOM and know your customer is an overarching, due diligence endeavor. And SOM is just one very big and very important piece of that. Okay, so I think we covered this already. So these are some of the characteristics of a robust SOM program. I won't jump into all these different pieces, but these are the learnings that we get from reading the law and looking at case precedents and looking at industry best practices. These are very specifically issues and activities that come up and need to be performed or need to be addressed as part of your SOM program. So I do want to touch on the Support Act because this is kind of new and it's really going to affect certain aspects of your SOM requirements. So first is the definitions piece of it. So the Support Act, actually, before I get into that, just a really quick background of what the Support Act is. So Support Act is basically what Congress passed in answer to the opioid epidemic and all the public and private pressure applied to Congress and to kind of solve the problem. Right, the epidemic is incredibly tragic, and what it is over the last 2 or 3 decades, the amount of deaths caused by opioids, prescribed opioids specifically, has been slowly but surely climbing. And it kind of hit a breaking point in 2020, 2021, which is when you heard about all the multi-district litigation and all the backlash coming against industry in regards to that. So that's kind of the environment that we're operating in today. Is a very kind of what Gina mentioned is a lot of fines, very litigious, very in a very conservative environment where big companies like PharmEd and Independent Pharmacy Cooperative have chosen to stop selling controlled substances. So for any companies that are providing controlled substances, it's a good place to be, and patients do deserve to be given opioids according to a real medical need. And the Support Act is just kind of supplementing the various aspects of the CSA to ensure that it's done safely and securely. So getting into what the Support Act does, we are expecting the rulemaking to be made effective this year. And so there's 3 major aspects of the Support Act that I want to touch on. The first part is the definition. So in the enforcement, so this CSA or the 13.01.74 was passed in 1984 in the 80s. So over the last almost 30 years, there's been a lot of cases and a lot of litigation, DEA actions, DOJ actions, and whatnot. And so one thing that the Support Act does is it revisits 4 key definitions, 2 of them new and 2 of them existing. One, it defines due diligence. It defines orders. It redefines, there's this, orders received under suspicious circumstances was what previously was called a flagged order by industry in general, but it was never defined. And then it fully defines what a suspicious order is. And really the idea is that, there's no hiding behind vocabulary. It really kind of puts everybody on the same page, both the enforcement as well as industry, the DEA, DOJ, as well as industry, to ensure that, everybody's speaking the same language so that there's no confusion, no excuses or what have you moving forward. On the control side, there's additional controls, know your customer controls. Due diligence now includes, very specifically market comparisons, and there's also additional business models that are subject to SOM, including, narcotic treatment programs and others. And then finally, on the procedural level, registrants must additionally comply with specific procedures laid out by the legislation. There's a new 2-part regulatory framework. There's requirements for reporting and requirements for record keeping. And so our algorithm development and in general, what a company should think about when developing algorithms is a number of things, right? So what you see on the right, the table on the right, was what Morrison-Dixon. This is a table included in Morrison-Dixon's DEA actions. So these are, very specifically a statistical analysis on how and what is flagged and what the DEA perceives as being potentially suspicious. And so this is stuff that Pharma Solutions as a company has consumed, and then we use programmers and statistical analysis to really ensure that we comply with all these various different aspects, or at least the system does. All right, so jumping right into Navigate SOM. So this is kind of what the new platform looks like. So the idea is that the order is received or put into the ERP system via AI. It then communicates in the background with Navigate SOM. Should an order be flagged and should somebody have to actually perform due diligence, this is how you do that, right? So somebody would come into the dashboard. This is the overview dashboard where you see, the different flagged indices, drug families. It just kind of gives you a overarching understanding of your orders and how business is flowing for your company. This is kind of what I described graphically. So on the left-hand side, you have the customers. They put in the orders on the S2K on-cloud pharma program, the VAI program. It comes into distributors ERP. Sometimes it's manually coded if the order is being taken by a phone. And then this is the workflow handled within Navigate SOM is the order and NDC lines are automatically checked by algorithms. So we both check on the order level as well as on the very specific NDC levels to ensure that we're getting the full analysis of opioid orders. Next part of it is for the distributor or manufacturer to go ahead and investigate and track those investigations within the platform. Documentation is absolutely critical because the DEA is going to ask for proof or information on how or why something was flagged. And then flagged orders are dispositioned, cleared and filled, or stopped and reported. And then that automatically speaks back to the SK program. This is a little bit more description or visual on what the workflow looks like. So you click an order, you click a flag, and it pops out. You're able to add reasons and comments, and upload documentations for your investigations, add notes, etc., and so on, to make sure that you're properly completing due diligence. It's just a list of the algorithms and stuff that we cover with the algorithm, size and pattern, frequency, etc., and so on. Jumping into the features and capabilities, right? So you're provided a full-fledged user interface to do the work, to do the investigations, because you don't want to be in a position where you're tracking this manually and stuff is being put into folders and it's paper copies or anything like that. Or even shared drives or what have you. That's a very scary situation in case the DEA does come in and starts asking questions and poking and prodding your SOM program. The algorithm configurability is a big piece because not only are there a variety of algorithms that you can choose from that's applied to your specific business, but you can configure each one of those specific to your business, which is very important. So moving right along, the idea is always focuses on DEA defensibility. Documentation is absolutely critical because that's what's going to prove to the DEA or the DOJ when they come knocking, and they will eventually, to make sure that you guys are following procedure and actively preventing drug diversion. And we have other workflow and metrics and reporting built in, including notifications and custom reports. So the next generation insight, you're able to adjust averages and thresholds, and you're able to see flagged order insights. You get full information instead of like a manual process where you're manually looking at past orders or what have you. The workflow is designed such that you're able to see the history of orders and really understand the customer that was potentially flagged. So you're making a very informed decision whether to clear and fill the order or to stop and report the order as suspicious. And then in general, we have a very robust software infrastructure. We leverage the Amazon Web Server, AWS infrastructure as a service and platform as a service with all the requisite security and controls, root access, multi-factor authentication, separation of roles and privileges, and so on. And then, of course, we have backups and security all built in. So that was a really quick overview of the Navigate SOM platform and the features and capabilities.